영상 끝에 비트코인 시황 남겨드릴 예정이 끝까지 시청 부탁드립니다.
My estimate was we'd go to 150. If you just look at the pure cycles, it says 170. Some would say we're going to get to 200. I know Max is saying 220 and others. I'm taking 150. Maybe it's 170, but somewhere between 150 and 170 to me is where we end up in Q3. And then we start crypto winter again. So that's the longest answer.
실제로 영상을 만들고 있는 지금도 비트코인은 지속적인 하락을 보여주고 있습니다.
You've ever had to a simple question. Bitcoin network, the network itself, the secured network Bitcoin's never been hacked, not once. Ethereum hacked, Bitcoin never been hacked.
실제로 비트코인의 보안 구조 때문에 지금까지 단 한 번도 해킹당한 적이 없습니다.
And it's had like 20 minutes of downtime in 16 years, so it's pretty reliable. Well, why? It's the most powerful computing network the world has ever seen. It's 1,500 times, not 1,500%, 1,500 times more powerful than CERN supercomputer. So I will argue that you got two things going on. One, you got this natural arbitrage that's going on between people who are long the ETF, the financialized version of Bitcoin, and short the future. And that caps the price movement. Second thing that's going on is I do believe, and I don't know if it's Buffett, I don't think it's Buffett, but somebody has changed their mind. In my opinion, somebody, and whether that's nation states or whether that's other billionaires, somebody has changed their mind and they want to accumulate. And they don't want to accumulate at high prices, they want to accumulate at low prices. So what do? You unleash the bots on all the leveraged speculators.
여기서 본 매매란 합법적으로 유동성, 변동성, 청산 트리거를 이용하는 방식입니다. 즉, 레버리지 투기 세력들은 강제 청산 가격이 있기 때문에 높은 변동성을 유발하여 투기 심리를 위축시키는 방법입니다.
See, here's the problem. So here's my outlook for the year. So Bitcoin's fair value, as you said earlier, is around 95K, maybe 98, somewhere in the high 90s. The Bitcoin network is very, very valuable. The Bitcoin network, the network itself, the secured network that's never had a fraudulent transaction. How many times do you have to get a new Visa number because your number gets hacked? Often. Bitcoin's never been hacked, not once. Bitcoin never been hacked. And it's had like 20 minutes of downtime in 16 years, so it's pretty reliable. So this is a really valuable asset, just as a computing asset. Well, then the number of nodes keeps growing, the hash rate keeps growing, all the fundamentals keep growing. So we can calculate this fair value. When the price is below fair value, who buys it? People like you and me and all the other people we traffic with, investors. We like to buy stuff on sale. We like to buy things below their fair value. That's what we do. Okay? And what does that do? That slowly pushes the price toward fair value. Now, as the price starts to move, who gets involved? Traders. Traders don't really care about fair value. They just want movement. They want to scalp a little here, there, up, down. Then who comes in? As we start to get towards fair value, and maybe we can get a little bit above fair value, well, then the speculators come in. Well, who's a speculator? Speculator is the opposite side of a hedger. So if the price is fair value, and I'm a miner, okay, and I can produce it below fair value, then I will sell my production and I'll sell it forward in the futures market, and the speculator will come in and take the other side. Okay? That's just a natural phenomenon. It's like an oil producer or a gold producer. But then the problem is, as the price starts to move, it starts to generate attention, and there's this self-fulfilling prophecy. And then the gamblers come in. And the gamblers do a couple things. They don't give a shit. They don't care about value. They don't even know maybe what they're buying. They just see movement and they want in, and they use leverage. So that's what's happening in Bitcoin. Right now, you've got massive demand, right? You got BlackRock buying every day. You got Millennium buying. But here's the thing. Millennium isn't buying long. Millennium is a market neutral shop. I love when the 13Fs come out and everybody says, oh, look, Millennium bought $2 billion of the ETF. I'm like, yeah. And they shorted at least $2 billion, maybe 2.1 or 2.2 of futures against it.
실제로 일주일 전 한 익명의 투기꾼은 이더리움 50배 숏 포지션으로 1시간 만에 $1,680만 달러의 수익을 챙겼습니다.
because they're just arbing the spread between the futures price and the spot price. Short ETF. They destroy capital because of the rebalancing and this roll yield between futures and spot. So we're in this thing where a year ago, the ETFs get approved and everyone's like, oh, it's going to be great. The price is going to go straight up. And we went up in anticipation. And then when it happened, because no one was talking, Anthony, about the same day, January 10th, the exact same day, not a coincidence, the CME listed massive numbers of new Bitcoin futures. So what's happening is every time someone is accumulating, these big dogs, okay, the banksters, can naked short against it to suppress the price. Now, part of that's just to make money, right? You're short here, you're long here, you make about 11, 12% annualized, and you lever it up 8, 10 times, and you make a lot of fucking money. And so what happens, we have this 4-year cycle. What's the 4-year cycle? Some of the most brilliant programming really ever, in the sense that every 4 years, the block rewards, the number of Bitcoin that are given to the miners to secure the network, which is a genius idea, it gets cut in half. Well, why is that a good idea? Well, think about it. All your miners have fixed costs. Electricity is fixed, the machines are fixed. So if you decrease the number of rewards in half, in theory, half of them should go out of business. But they don't. Why not? Because they're like, well, then I just won't sell. And I'll force the bid up in order for me to sell. So after the halving event, we see this basic doubling of fair value. Okay, this doubling of price. Well, that increase attracts the speculators. So the halving event happens when we're below fair value because of the 4th cycle. So that first part of the cycle is that recovery from winter, and it starts to move toward fair value. Then we get into what's called crypto summer, which we're starting to get close to fair value, and the halving event occurs. That was a year ago. Then we get crypto fall. Well, what's crypto fall? That's where the price starts to move above fair value and the gamblers come in. And the further it gets is based on leverage. In the previous 3 cycles, we got to just about 2 to 2.1 times fair value. The first one, fair value was about 3,000, we got to like 6. Second, it was fair value was 10, we got to 20. The third was 32, we got to 69. So we get to these levels of extremes. Well, then gravity works, and somebody comes in, squeezes the people who are over levered, and the price starts to correct. Now, so in theory, based on previous cycles, we should get somewhere between 1 to 2 times fair value. If fair value, we'll round it to 100. I think there's going to be less leverage. We don't have FTX anymore. We don't have Bitfinex. There's not as much leverage in the system. There's still leverage. Obviously, we've seen that last couple of days. So that's the longest answer you've ever had to a simple question.
비트코인 시황 브리핑 시작하겠습니다. 비트코인은 2월 11일 기준 고점 대비 마이너스 23% 하락했다가 약간의 반등을 하고 있습니다. 비트는 스마트머니 구간인 84.9K부터 90K까지 리테스트를 할 것으로 보고 있습니다. 스마트머니 구간으로 들어오면 약상승으로 자금 회수가 이루어지고 추가적으로 큰 하락을 예상하고 있습니다. 결론적으로 최하단은 50K를 생각하고 있으며 세력들은 어떻게든 싸게 매수하려고 공포를 조장할 겁니다. 다만 이러한 예측이 실제 매매에서는 큰 도움이 안 된다는 걸 알기 때문에 시황방 운영을 통해 좀 더 디테일한 내용을 공유해드릴까 합니다. 빠른 시일 내에 시황방을 운영할 예정이니 조금만 기다려주시면 감사하겠습니다. 영상이 유익하셨다면 좋아요, 구독, 알림 설정 부탁드립니다. 다음 영상에서 뵙겠습니다. 감사합니다.